Welcome back to Conversations with a Rose, everybody. This is a spinoff podcast to my new book, Dear Rose, Letters to My Grandmother, in the fact that I am providing my story on how to heal from daddy issues and the things that God has revealed to me in my times of meditation, devotion, interacting with others, interacting with lovers, and just careers, the whole nine, right? Finding your purpose is one of the main things that I really discuss in the book, and that only happens as you heal. So today with me, I have two very, very hilarious people that I met probably as soon as I got up here from Florida, way back in 2000. So I want to introduce to you all. I believe the podcast is called Five in the Fry, correct?
Five in the Fry, baby. You already know what it is. Yeah.
Get your knick-knack, paddywhack. Now I'm playing. I want to introduce to you and just really, man, just getting these people's heads, man. Darian Gaston and Jason Hoskins.
What's up? What's going on?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm your host, Fable Jay.
And this is your co-host.
And this is another episode of
Hey man, listen, conversation with Rose, man. Y'all are roses.
We just took it over, man. We just took it over, man.
I see. Nah. Look, we're gonna run this back right here. So
he said, "Nah, man. Hey,
reset.
I'm the captain now.
Hey, look, man. All right, so I really want to just kind of share a little bit on you all's relationship to what I've seen over the years, and then you all can just dive straight into, just y'all's relationship and everything, and if Daddy was home, if Daddy wasn't at home, if Daddy was what you wanted him to be. And so forth. So I really, honestly, I'm not even, y'all's relationship is kind of similar to me and my best friends, the way we just been holding each other accountable and just doing stuff together. And I'm not saying that to bring that back to me, but just the way that you all really have like this David and Jonathan type relationship. For those who are familiar with the word God, pretty much, to what I've seen, you all really take each other under each other's wings, depending on certain topics, and showing each other the ropes and keeping each other accountable as Black men in the 21st century. So if y'all just want to go ahead, fill in on, y'all's relationship and especially kind of like the start of it, because I'm almost itching to know that.
Man, we got to go
start
back.
of it.
I mean, if y'all can go that far.
That was a minute ago. I can remember like first memories, from I grew up on the South Side, 72nd and Morgan. D lived in Country Club Hills, but before then he stayed in the city too. I don't think I even knew him.
Yeah, I stayed in Rosen on the 118th.
Yeah,
Rosen. Yeah. I mean, that was late 80s, early 90s when I first met Jay.
Yeah, okay. We was middle school, a little younger than that, something like that.
Yeah, we met in the church.
I had two sisters at the crib, so I was just itching to leave. I was itching to just be out the crib. And I found second home over the house out in Country Hills, man. One time I just wanted to spend out of his crib. I just never wanted to leave. Man, because when I walked in this room, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, this is perfect, man. You thought about me the whole time. You got two beds over here. You just one dude in the room with two beds. Right. Let me just go ahead and make my home right here. And, he had the video games and he had the rim outside. He had the homies around the crib who would come hoop.
Hey, slow down, man. You making it feel like I'm spoiled or something like that.
No, man. I'm coming from the hood. I'm coming from.
Slow down, bro.
I could just remember it was my escape. It was all women in the house.
So hold on. The question, it was just all women. I was going to say.
It was all women in the house. Pop one, I think my pop was going around 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
But before then, I grew up with him. He taught me, if I can remember anything, he taught me was respect. And, sometimes I learned the hard way. I participated in basketball, baseball. He always had me in sports. I was in karate. we did a lot of activities together. But I do remember I was always just afraid to speak to him, man. I was always afraid to. Yeah, because
was that from the greasy leather?
I guess now that I look back on it, and respect, you learn the hard way, man. I can remember situations where, you know, I did something I wasn't supposed to do, and I got my butt whipped for it. And sometimes I felt like, okay, it might have been a little overboard.
Right.
And, you know, I'm 35 now. If I could think back to those times, you might say it was abuse. You might say it was an abusive, you know what I'm saying? He might have been an abusive father. But in my eyes, it was, okay, you know, this is what's supposed to happen. You do something wrong, you get your butt whipped. Extension cord, hanger. I got to the point where we had a pull stick because I was, you know what I'm saying?
Hold on, man.
Yeah, but it wasn't vulgar. It was like, he'll pick it up. I don't want to go too deep in it, but just if I could bring it back, it was just, okay, that could be characterized as abuse in this day and time right now, you know?
Right.
And also I was a little afraid, you know? I didn't realize that in the beginning. I think once I hit about 30, you know what I'm saying, late 20s, 30, I started, you know what I'm saying, having those epiphanies like, man, this is why I did. This is why I behaved that way. Because I could always remember this in a car with him. He'd be trying to talk to me. Man, Jay, what's up with the ladies? You talk to the ladies at school now? I was just like, nah, I wouldn't talk to him at all. And, I had some traumatic experiences. But like I said, man, my father was there. He was there for me growing up, man. Till about 11, 12 years old when I hit 6th grade, something like that. And, you know, he and my mom, you know, 7 years of marriage. And, you know, I'm still learning things about what was going on when I was growing up. So, you know, mom, those are traumatic experiences, man. And I couldn't figure out why I did those things. But if I can think about it now, I understand why. And I think it was traumatic. I was scared.
So let's just highlight that though, bro. You said you ain't catch this till 30?
Yeah. Like it was
wow.
I didn't want to think about it. My father, it was like, well, I'm gonna dig deep and reflect on the inside, particularly about him when he's not even around. So, you know what I'm saying? I confided in Darian. I confided in the men that I was raised around, like my uncles, my Uncle Will, my Uncle Dave, my brother, you know, Darian as well, you know, and some of the men in his family, like Jamil growing up too. Those were, I pulled from each of those guys, and me and Darian talk about this a lot. You know, we had to survive off feeding off other men who, you know, were who had enough time to kind of sit down and talk about some things. You had questions, I can go to them and ask those questions, have those tough conversations. You know, people don't want to have tough conversations nowadays, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what it was. You just trying to draw from whoever is around you, who you see as strong, who you hold to a certain standard. Hey, I want to be like this young man. So let me go talk to him and see what his head at. Let me just listen to it. You know what I'm saying? What he talking about.
I can second that too. I can second that too. If you know what I'm saying. Let me give a background to me. You know, my house. So in the beginning, there was a man in my life. I thought he was my father. You know what I'm saying? I didn't realize that he wasn't my father until I was 10 years old. Wow. So from the day that I was born up until about 9, 10 years old, you know what I'm saying? My stepfather was my dad.
Yeah.
But then
let's talk about that like reality shock. Like
it was kind of like when you're that young, you don't really understand the depth of it. Like I didn't really understand the depth of it until I was, you know what I'm saying, later on, looking in hindsight, like Jay said with his situation. You know what I'm saying? You don't really understand the severity of how it was until you look back like, dang, that was kind of crazy, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then I didn't recognize that he wasn't my father until my mom and him got separated. And then there was this guy, I got home from school one day, and there was this dude sitting on the couch in the living room. I didn't pay no mind to it. Went to my room. My mom, she called me out to the living room. She said, hey, Darian, sit down. This is your dad. Now, 9, 10 years old, a stranger, all of a sudden being introduced as your biological father. You know what I'm saying? But you don't understand. It's like, all right, cool. What's up? I went right back to my room and played my Sega. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, looking in hindsight, it's like, because my mom, she said soon after that, my grades started dropping. I think subconsciously, it did something to my mind. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't really realize it until later. So I didn't really have a father figure in the house, you know what I'm saying, at the time.
Right.
Like I said, my dad, my who I recognize as my dad was my stepfather. He wasn't there anymore because my mom and my stepfather got separated. So once they got separated, up until I moved out of my mom's house, there was no man in the house. So just like Jason said, we had to depend on the guys in the church. We had to depend on our friends. Me and Jason's relationship got closer, I think, because of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the only people that we could depend on to give us examples of how to be a man, because we don't really have that consistent father figure in the household to look at every day to teach us how to be a man.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, I
that's
mean,
kinda,
man, that's that dude. Like, I mean, I know for me, like my father, crazy, right? I just like it. I'm not saying that the story has changed. It has changed. Like, okay, so I grew up thinking that my pops, you know, I was like, well, yeah, he wants me. You know, he just, I don't know, like he comes to get me all the time. Then I get older. I get to, man, I think my mom told me at like 22, 20. No, I would have graduated. No, yeah, 22, I think. They're like, yeah, your dad didn't want you till you were 2. And then next time, the next thing, it changed to 3. And I'm like, okay, I'm confused. Like, and the fact that like all this stuff now, so like when I was started writing Dead Rose, I was 19. 6 years ago, 6 minus 25. Yeah. So, you know, for me to start getting into my healing phase and then now to just be abruptly stopped, I was like, what? And then to find out, I was like, somebody said some other things that I shouldn't be here right now. I said, hold on, man. I said, wait a second.
Yeah.
I'm just confused, you know? And just for that, like as little kids, like for you to just walk in on that, I'm like, yo, like as a young man now to where I'm at, you know, I think, was I engaged? I don't know. I think I was just dating my fiance at the time when she told me, and I'm just still like, bro, like what? This is crazy. So I couldn't even imagine as a young man, as a young boy coming in, some dude. I would have, what up?
Don't even know how to register that, man. Like, what?
Man, that's crazy.
Come on, bro. And then, and shortly after that, though, so he was introduced, you know what I'm saying, in my life or whatever. And I think, like, maybe a week or 2 after that, you know what I'm saying, he stayed on the north side at the time. I don't know where he stays at now, but at the time, he was staying on the north side. So we went to go see him, you know what I'm saying, visit him at his house. And the whole time, I was in his house playing Sega Channel. I didn't have no conversation with him or nothing. Him and my mom was in, you know, the living room talking, and that's all I remember from that. And then shortly after that, like a week or 2 after that, I told my mom, like, hey, I want to go back over his house. She asked him. He said no. He can't come back over.
Dang.
And so like that, after that, I think
just that's constant when, blows, you know, man.
After that, I think that's when, you know, my mom, she started to notice a decline in, you know, my interest in school, and, you know what I'm saying, it's some other stuff that was happening that she noticed that I wasn't even really privy of, you know, like I said, subconsciously, I think it affected me more than I realized. You know what I'm saying? So that's like a little bit more sugar to the story. Like it's deep, man. It goes deep. And like I said, a lot of the stuff that happens to us, we really don't understand, you know what I'm saying, how relevant it is until you're older and you look back on it.
Right.
Man, you know what I'm saying? That was crazy. That's kind of nuts.
And and that's a lot more too. That's what I mentioned though. I mean, my whole premise is that the fact that I just believe that there are principalities, powers, and other things
spiritually
in play as far as dealing with the separation of let me not even say the separation of, but damaging the integrity of the family unit on any scale, whether it's black, brown, white, purple, yellow.
Right. No matter creed, no matter race. Yeah.
I mean, between slavery, other different things, even men having to go to war is a form of an attack on the family, because you're going to war because of division. And yeah. So, man, I mean, just understanding, parents just look up, they like, dude, like, what's wrong with you? Like, you know, like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with y'all? I'm not even gonna say that, but
deep. That's really deep, man. That's really deep, because they looking at me like, they looking at the kid like, you're not gonna take any responsibility for me. I work with kids, right? Yeah. And it's always that saying that you got a knucklehead in your class, and you like when the parent comes, you're like, oh, I understand now.
Right.
I understand exactly. Why this kid is behaving the way he's behaving. But the parents somehow feel like they just isolated from the cultivation of their own kid. Like like I don't have any responsibility in raising the kid. Like, so I don't know why he's acting that way when you obviously, should be pointing the finger at yourself. So it's like those experiences have helped me dig deep within myself. You know what I'm saying? To have my own son for myself. It's like, I already had this mindset of, I'm not going to be a father like my father. Right. That was my motivation.
But
like,
I mean, but
how do you do that?
So how do you sustain that? So that's my thing, right? My father, to what I know from my mother, swore to my mother that, yo, I'm going to marry you. They're going to get my older brother and he's going to take care of her. Like, my grandfather on my dad's side was a drug addict, all this type of stuff, abusive, everything. And, left the home, left the kids to fend for themselves. And I'm not going to say the exact same thing, but as far as the translation to the children, happened nearly 2 to 3, 4 times worse. I don't know what he said. And I'll just kind of share this. We had a discussion. I'm not even going to say discussion because I like lashed out. January 27th of this year, after he hadn't talked to me for 3 years. My line always stays open, for the most part. And
you said it's your grandfather or your pop?
No, this is my father. So
it's your pop, okay.
Yeah. So he, I call him the whole ordeal. He calls me back after not answering the phone, and I'll just kind of jump to the end of the conversation. Pretty much, he swears to me that I don't need to bring up his past, but his past is in my present, actually in our present. So how are you, not going to tell me to bring up your past and that, your actions don't have anything to do with my reactions? Just talking about that whole parent to kid translation. I believe they said on, what is that, Iron Man 3, we create our own demons. Not to say that I'm a demon. But
no, I get you. It's like just like they say that we pay for our father's mistakes.
Yeah. Yep. So, like, what's y'all take on how to sustain that? I guess that mantra or whatever. I'm not going to be like my father. I'm going to do the best. I'm going to be the better man than you were. How do you all sustain that now? As I guess, if you all label yourselves fatherless children to a degree, and both of you all being fathers, how do you all sustain that now, current day?
Man, that's a good question.
Go ahead, D. That is a question.
I mean, you go ahead. You go ahead, because
I think it depends on where it's coming from. I think it depends on where is it coming from. A place of like anger? Are you motivated because because it makes you upset that you're not going to make those same? I think it really depends. My father messed up, make those same mistakes. Yeah. It's all love, but then there's also, but he never became like that. That's you making. What am I saying? You're kind of making some inner vows that you don't want to make. You know what I'm saying? So if it's coming from a place of, I messed up so you wouldn't have to mess up, and I'm motivated. I'm motivated to be better because it depends on the man with. You know, if it's an angry type thing, it'd be tough to sustain that because you just like you got to keep subconsciously reflect on, okay, I need to let that anger go and concentrate on, you know, as hard as it may seem or hard as it may feel to start on a positive note. But again, if it's something rooted in anger, it'd be hard to sustain because it takes so much energy. It takes so much energy to declare something in an angry state and consistent with that, like tough. Anything out of anger, in my opinion, is going to be tough to sustain. But I kind of use it as motivation, and sometimes I go back and forth. Like right now, my father and I, we don't even talk. You know, and this is recently. This is like a year. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if y'all want me to get into that. I don't really have to, but I feel that he's missing out on his grandson. The other two grandchildren, he wouldn't know anything about them as well because I didn't know. I had a half brother who I found out information about that my father was. I don't want to drag. It's hard. Like not because I got to be honest. Like my father was a deadbeat to my older brother. Yeah, you know, he had him and just left him. And my mother is kind of sharing things about that relationship as well. D, what you feeling, man? I know I talked a lot. About
I'm gonna kind of answer it a different way.
If I were to just sum it up, very unique that way. You're very unique that way.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a compliment or if you threw a jab.
It definitely is. It absolutely is a compliment. Uniqueness is high on my standards, man. So absolutely, man. You know I ain't.
You got to excuse Jason. Jason is a jerk to me subconsciously too. But anyways, I would say like I would say for me and fatherhood, I think I'm closer to my stepfather than I am to my biological father. Right. Simply because of the fact that even though I wasn't his biological son, I was still his son. Right. I still have his last name. And so I still carry that with me to this day. You know what I'm saying? With my wife's kids. Like, even though they're not mine biologically, they're still mine. Right. And that was the representation that was set forth for me. And so it would be irresponsible for me not to do the same thing for her kids. Right. If you understand what I'm saying. So that's kind of how I sustain, because I kind of had a good model to follow. Even though it wasn't a perfect model, right? It's the only one that I had as a father. So that's sort of how I sustain. If that answers your question. No. And I mean, what you're referencing, I'm not gonna reveal it, but you're referencing stuff from chapter 5 of the book. So I'm sorry. No, you're good. You're good. Okay. Yeah, but that's how I sustain, man. I just use the models that was set before me, and not just with my stepfather, but with other guys that I saw, including my best friend, including Jason. You know what I'm saying? I see him with his son. Right. There's certain things that, you know what I'm saying, I take note, like, man, you know what I'm saying, I would want to be that kind of father. So I appreciate that. That's just sort of what I keep in the back of my mind. Yeah. How many years you been in the game of fatherhood? Ooh, it's been over a decade, man. Okay. It's been over a decade. It was about since 2008. 12 years, brother. Hey. 12 years. Yep. A long time, Doc. That's half where I'm at now. Yeah, it's been a while. Time flies, man. Time flies. That's why I ain't trying to have no kids yet, because I'm going to look. Hey, take your time, bro. Take your time. Yeah, man, we got 3-4 years on that, hopefully. Yeah. Definitely, y'all need to be talking about it, but take your time, man. Oh, yeah, we got the names. Oh, y'all got names already. Okay. Yeah, what about you, Jay? How long you been in the game? So my son is 5. So 5 years. It'll be 6 in December. It'll be 6 in December, man. It's been a pleasure. It's been one of the hardest, but one of the most rewarding things I've ever experienced in my life.
when they say that. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. And so,
yep.
Let me ask this: how do you all feel? I guess like parenting strategy comes in from the examples that you all have had and you all's relationship. You kind of spoke on it a little bit, Darian, but I just want to see if y'all could get in there a little bit more.
So you mean like what kind of examples were set before us that we kind of draw from?
that y'all are now giving to y'all kids and using in the home?
Oh, you mean from negative aspect?
No, from a positive. Like what type of strategies do y'all use and everything based off of you all's examples and stuff and the way that you all hold each other accountable as fathers?
I say the biggest thing in my mind that pops in is just being present, man. Mm-hmm. Like,
what does that mean?
Being present is like basically being there for your kids, understanding what your kids need. You know what I'm saying? Having those conversations with them.
Not just knowing. Not
just knowing them, but exactly understanding them. Because I mean, really, there's no. I don't think there's a perfect way to be a parent, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? We try and we can make an effort. And I think that's the best thing that we can offer to the kids is to make an effort, be there for them, understand, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain things that a father can offer.
Right.
That, you know what I'm saying? A mother can't, and vice versa. Some things that a mother can offer that a father can't.
Yeah. Are you looking at your baby right there? Hold on. I know Jessica is not sitting right next to you.
Yeah, she
saying nothing.
This is my cheat code right here.
Hey.
What's
I
happening?
was going to use the example for both Jason and Darian, for them being dependable. So Jeremiah has his license, and Jeremiah blew a tire. It was late at night on a crazy country road here. And he called me, and of course, Mom falls into tears. Jason and Darian were the ones, they got to the car, they did the jack, they changed the tire, stuff like that. The father, that's what boys need. That's what my Jeremiah needs. These guys are here for Jeremiah because, dependable.
Absolutely.
Because where Mom couldn't do that. I couldn't jack up that car. I fell to tears immediately. Oh my God, he's on the side of the road. It's late at night. They had the clear thoughts and got there and did what they had to do.
Yeah. So I get brownie points for that.
Amen.
But you know what I'm saying? That's just that's just one example. You know what I'm saying? Just being there. Just being there for your kids. Just being dependable for your kids.
And if I can add to that, if I could add to that, like giving yourself the opportunity to start new every day. Like again, like you said, there is no perfect model for a father, right? So I was trying to say, I make mistakes all the time, and so I could think of examples like, you know what, maybe I went too hard on him today about a certain situation, so maybe he didn't pick up something, and I might have raised my voice or my tone was a little off, so I got to stop myself and say, man, you know what, come here, man, I'm sorry, there's nothing wrong with showing emotion, but if I obviously see that my son may be in distress based off his reaction to me. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, man, come here, man. I love you, man. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have did that. Like, stop, apologize, and try to get better at it, man. And one of my prayers is me being impatient. Like, I'm praying for patience every day. God, increase my patience. And, I messed up this time. Help me do better. Help me, grow with that patience. So every day, like I'm literally, and I talked to Darren about this too. I gotta stop myself and say, man, I could have did better with this situation. So let me take a step back and let me talk to him. Like it's crazy, man. This lockdown and I'm teaching. I have to be his teacher. Not only do I have to do my job and support the kids that I'm supporting at the school that I work at, but I'm in charge of his well-being as far as being taught. He's about to be going to kindergarten, and so it's really difficult teaching a kid numbers and letters and sight words and having that patience. So I explode sometimes, not in a bad way, but I could tell that I'm affecting him. So I have to say, before I even start with a lesson, I come to him and I say, big boy, come here, man. I'm sorry, man. I love you. And we'll pray and then we'll start a lesson. You know what I'm saying? So oftentimes this standard for fathers, you can't show them, you can't be emotional, you can't cry, you don't ask for forgiveness, you don't even care about showing emotion. It just you got to be a rock hard, just rock solid pretty much. You have to have that persona to be a father. And I think that's the furthest thing from the truth. You know, so we learning how to be fathers from society, and that's not necessarily the best thing to do. So right. I'm trying to break that. I'm not gonna do that. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, I just wonder. So, kind of like what I mentioned in the book about how my mom had to kind of become my father. I mean, it got to a point to where, like, and I'm not saying that this is with your son, but it just got to a point to where I'm sorry, you know, I'm sorry that work has me stressed out and you always have to be the punching bag or whatever, like anything. Like, it was just like, I'm sorry, just like, I'm like, whatever. Like, I don't even care about it anymore. So, like, you know, when does that, if it does become an issue for anybody else's kids, like, how does that, because it's just always so harsh. And I'm like I'm honestly, and I'm not like, my mother did the best she could, and nobody's perfect.
Shout out to Big Mom.
But like,
so you saying
I have PTSD now of her fussing at me, and I'll be like, did you just fuss at me? Did you just call my name? Like, did you just yell for me? Like, I'll be like sitting in my room working, and I'm like, but she's asleep. Like, it's weird.
I get you.
That makes sense.
I haven't reached that rule yet, and I pray that I don't want to get my son, you know, have those traumatic experiences, because that's what really is.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't crossed that bridge yet. I think that at this point right now, it's my goal not to have to be a reason why he may have those traumatic experiences. So I think it comes with being wise, like, because my biological father may not be there for me to talk to. I still have my uncle. I still have my boy Darren. I still have other guys that I draw from. So it's really just being wise. Like, you know what I'm saying? Fools despise wisdom. So I'm going to seek it. I'm going to seek that knowledge. You know what I'm saying?
So let me drop this wisdom on you real quick.
Let's go.
So let's say that what I mentioned in the first episode, I said that I have never been to age 24. I've never been to age 25. I mean, I'm 24 now. I'm sorry. I've never been to age 25. I've never been to age 26, 27. How would that look if parents started translating that to their kids? They ain't never been to 5. They ain't never been to, you know, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, and taking that. It's patience, but the patience comes from grace. Does that make sense? What happens if we start looking at that through that type of lens, and really, instead of scrutinizing, holding the hand of the kid?
Man, you asked some really good questions, man.
And this is coming from 2 regular podcasters.
And again, and I think what my mindset is now is, I'm not afraid to admit when I don't know. You know? I'm not afraid to admit that.
So what maybe your son and you all's kids and everybody, a lot of other people's kids, maybe they just don't have the verbiage to say, I don't know. Like, I need help.
Perhaps. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. I think, sometimes kids don't know how to articulate and sometimes don't even understand the situation. But what you just said made me think of something. Was like, okay, so when you try to, I don't know if this pertains to the conversation or whatever, but sometimes with patience, when you're trying to teach your kids something, and you tell them something over and over and over again, like 20 times, 30 times, and it just doesn't seem like they're listening to you. And then all of a sudden, somebody else tells them one time. Then all of a sudden they change their behavior. And you're looking at them like, yo, I've been telling you this for like 5-10 years. Now, all of a sudden, when this person tells you one time, you start doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I think definitely patience is a huge part in parenthood, and understand that also that we as parents, we have to understand too that we're also human. You know what I'm saying? So just like Jason was saying, like he would be teaching his son something, and then all of a sudden he would get irritated or lose patience. You know what I'm saying? Like things will happen like that because we are human. We are susceptible to our emotions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why when I said earlier, I don't know if there's a perfect way to be a parent.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're still human beings.
Yeah.
Just like the Bible says, we all fall short. You know what I'm saying? But as long as we continue to grow and we continue to learn from our mistakes and say, okay, just like Jay said, all right, listen, I kind of blew up on him, you know what I'm saying, that last time. I can't keep doing that. Let me be more patient next time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Now, I'm not saying that there's a perfect formula. I'm just saying, what if that mindset changes? Because my whole thing, honestly, and I'll just kind of give y'all some insight on the book, I'm dedicating this to my father's healing because I see the deficits. If that makes sense. I see the difference in the soft and the hard foundation between us two, if that makes sense, especially spiritually. And God giving me a level of I just can't even describe the high level of grace that I've had to administer for him in the way that he deals with not only me, but even my little brothers that he decided to have when I was 14, 15, and even certain things that he handles with my older brother. You know, my older brother is 2 years older than me, but it's just, I guess what I'm really trying to communicate, and this is around the discussion, is that through the book, if the parent gives the child grace, and then if the child gives the parent grace in the different areas, and each other giving themselves grace, you know, like you said, you may blow up. Now, what I talk about with the full package of all three of my books is really understanding how reflection, honestly, as a human being, but especially as a man, as a father, as a husband, reflection is very important. And I think that what goes along with that I believe in insanity. I believe in sanity as well. And I believe that as parents, as we and human beings in general, as we continuously progress throughout the years in our different seasons, right, we need to continuously evolve. And I believe that the non-sincerity comes when there's no change behind the I'm sorry, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Yeah. So basically, you know what I'm saying, you could say sorry and still continue the action, and it's not really, you know what I'm saying, it don't mean nothing.
I mean, and that's just, I mean, this is just what it is in the Black family. Like, it's crazy how 100%. You know, we go from, oh, well, I'm sorry, son, that I wasn't here. But bro, oh Jesus, I just almost said something on air.
Slow down.
But like,
slow down, man.
nah, the FCC gonna get me. But look, I mean, it's just like that episode of Will Smith. Like, bro, you pop up like you willy nilly just thinking that you could like, bro, this is I'm the alpha now. Now you decide I let you back in. Now you gonna like hurt me again. Like there was no rectification. There was no resolution. There was no permanent turn of the heart, if that makes sense. And just to even put yourself back into that phase now, it's either one or two options. And I feel like this is the route that a lot of people go to. Jason, you kind of hinted to it. But one of the things that I talked to one of my students about is that she has to like literally numb herself from this type of pain in order for her to sleep at night, in order for her to get up to go to school and do the best that she can. So I feel like as fathers from these fatherless homes, we either build like the numbification process is building this ideal type of father figure that we're working towards, or else we slide down that slippery slope that the former did, to us, and we do it to our kids. So what I believe is that there has to be more so a processing of the pain instead of the numbification and even silencing, I guess. I'm actually going to be doing a blog on communication priority versus communication silencing. And I believe that what we talked about on the last call with my with one of my colleagues from the University of Illinois, he's a licensed psychologist and sociologist. I believe that as Black men specifically, but all men, there's this whole, you can't cry, you need to do this, you're a man, figure it out.
Yeah, toughen up.
But that's numbing the pain. Now, not to say that numb pain can't hurt. I go to the dentist. Listen, the joke is still hurt. and now from that numbification, I know, especially for me, for bullying, a lot of people were really scared that I was just gonna like blow up a school or something, because I just kept like suppressing it. I was either gonna intensely hurt somebody or do whatever, even to myself. And it almost got to that case, but just really, we literally have to stop numbing the pain that's inside of us, because now we may not be, like you said, going back and forth between that anger and that actual stepping on the road to that journey of healing. We can still lash out to a point and then end up exactly in the place where we put our own fathers.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Can we subconsciously numb our pain to the point where we don't even know that we have pain anymore?
Yes. So that happens over a couple of decades of years of, oh man, well, I see this or whatever. So like one of the things that I noticed and that I talk about is between gang activity. Now, I'm not talking about the rashness of gangs, but I'm talking about the form of that community. That's a community, a brotherhood.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get out the game because, man, these are your bros. Oh, somebody came and talked about you. Oh, no, we about to get them. Now, that's the rashness. But let's go to alcohol. Okay, I can't get this stuff out of my head. For me, I have a photographic memory. Okay, I got to do something. I got to get me some feel good or something. So that could be alcohol, marijuana use, drugs. Same thing. Let's take it to sex. I could be out here, loss of identity, Darren, just like what you talked about. Grades dropping and everything in school because you didn't have an identity at that point. With this new guy, new stranger just coming into the house. And a lot of times, and I really believe womanizing comes from this to a degree. It's the fact that we're consistently trying to search for ourselves in these other people, but pain is energy and energy transfers. So now what you're doing to yourself is now transferring to another individual. I saw this first case with the ex before I got with my fiance, and this was the time right when me and my dad we were going at it, due to some different things at the time, but the same energy, and this is what I write for the beginning quote on the description pages. I was becoming an image that I didn't want to see, and I was just looking at myself. I'm like, bro, can you please get it together? And then that side of the vessel just kept coming out. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, bro, fix it. But it takes years, and just watching the vices of your kids really attributes to how bad they're searching to rectify that pain. But at the same time, they're searching for something that now they're putting a cover up over it And now that cover up now becomes an addiction. Now that addiction becomes essentially learned behavior by the next generation, and the cycle just continues and continues and continues until somebody decides, okay, cool, we not doing this. I know for me, God, I just got to get real. I got to do this. I got to get real personal. I know for me, I made a vow to God at 8 years old that I was never going to smoke, drink, or have sex before I got married.
Woo!
Unfortunately, through different, I'm not even going to say intentional neglect, but unintentional neglect on the mom side of the family. You know, I had the whole birds and the bees talking all that stuff, but different situations that I was put in really attributed me. I mean, fortunately, I didn't lose my virginity until 21. I'm sorry, give it up until 21. I'm only 24, so yeah. Thank you. But you know, as far as like getting drunk and smoking weed, I've never touched weed a day in my life. And as far as drinking, I maybe only gotten drunk 3 times. Yeah, Hennessy would take me out, but man, listen, man. But you know, just really having to make those decisions now, I always like to reference it as the Joseph of your family. And I mean Joseph from Genesis, not Matthew. But just really looking at yourself as the seed of that generation and really having to make that pure change. I just really believe that that's just what that all comes down to, because the cycle's just going to keep continuing with the numbing of the pain and the dysfunction and this and that. And you'll even, like you said, subconsciously, you might even not even know what you fussing for, or what you know, why you grabbing this drink, why you doing this, but you kind of have an idea that there's something there. Like there's never been a moment that I may have had where, like, I can literally, now that I'm in the place that I'm in, I can literally feel my mother coming out of me. I can feel my father coming out of me. And now I guess the negative factors, I'm learning to manage some of the different things now that I'm past the father end of things, but just really seeking out that understanding of who am I, what do I want to do, who do I want to be, and that's more so a spiritual choice to the highest degree of God. What do you want me to be? What do you want me to do? And how do you want me to fulfill navigating my family back to your ordained family structure and system? So yeah, I'm gonna shut up.
No, you're breaking it down, man. And that's
I'm learning right now. I appreciate this.
The reason I asked that question is because, you know what I'm saying, like they say the first step to healing yourself from addiction is admitting that you have a problem.
I have a problem. Yep.
So if we, you know what I'm saying, condition ourselves over decades, years and years and years, you know what I'm saying, to numb ourselves of this pain, we could even forget that the pain is there. Exactly. We might think that we're normal. We might think that we're okay for a lot of us. So, you know, so that's what I was posing my question. Like, okay, if we think we're normal, how do we convince ourselves that, hey, no, I'm not. There's something seriously wrong.
That's a question.
But you kind of hinted to it. Like, we do know in the back of our mind, like, there's something that's not right. I just can't pinpoint it.
Yeah.
But there's something that's a little off with me. I'm a little crazy right now. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know why, and I don't know how to fix it.
Right. And that goes into you just like really being truthful with yourself.
Yep.
Like, I gotta stop lying to myself about this. Let me face this thing head on, you know. But you was about to say something, Matt.
Yeah, no, and I'm
learning.
You said what?
I said this is good. I'm learning. Yes.
Thank you. So I mean, let's bring this into the case of R. Kelly.
Uh-oh.
That was a major curveball.
What a segue.
I'm telling you.
I'm gonna take this to R. Kelly. I'm gonna take this, and this is not anybody else's views on homosexuality other than mine. And I will be transparent. I have very close friends who are just out there. Like, you know what I mean? I don't judge anybody, but just finding the root cause of what seed was planted inside of these individuals. So let's take it here. So with R. Kelly, right? Y'all watched the documentary, right?
Nope.
Nah.
Okay, so he attests, and his family also attests to having certain situations to where they were pre-exposed to sexuality and other things in the home, and they just never talked about it, and all these other things just kept getting swept under the rug. Oh, what? Don't bring that don't leave this house, or this situation stay between us, niece and nephew.
That sounds like the black family.
Exactly. And that's the normalcy of the black family. So I'm gonna get to that real quick. So now these things are festering in your mind. I will be honest. I was touched and all this type of stuff very early on. I mean, the earliest thing that I can remember about exploring my sexuality and trying to even understand women was probably at 3 years old. And that could have sent me on the wrong path. But I thank God for grace and because I had an assignment.
Yeah.
So, which has all led to this point. But just really understanding that these early occurrences, I'll be honest, my fiance knows this. Do I have an issue when I look at certain women now because I've seen so much? I know exactly what you look like, probably without your clothes on. I'll be honest. Yes. A lot of men want to admit that because of our early encounters with sexuality and everything. And so with R. Kelly, I'm not defending what this man has done, and pushing your pain on other people is wrong. However, I am going to penalize the people who were responsible for him
100%.
in the fact that you all neglected this man, and the just irresponsibility that you all practice, even with the other children, now has ended up ruining his life.
Yeah.
Whether that be him being able to read or the pre-exposed sexual encounters. Okay, let's jump to homosexuality. This is what I believe, and I'm gonna just stick to it. So I know for me, I did have a situation with an actual guy, like when I was like 5, and I thank God that certain things got stopped, but that has still been in my mind since I was like a little kid. And just to know that now, if I come from a fatherless home, this is the formula. If I come from a fatherless home, I am begging for male attention. Mm-hmm. Now, okay, who comes to steal, kill, and destroy? We all know who.
The enemy.
Okay, exactly. So now if I can disrupt your normal and get in there with now, okay, in my mind, I want male attention. Oh, I just had this experience. This kind of like, I know right from wrong, but this is kind of, I don't know, I'm stuck. Okay, now what does this lead to now that need was kind of met? And my partner on the previous call, he really got into this. He said that what is it? I forget what it's called. But anyway, he was basically saying that you will do anything good or bad for that type of attention from that individual. And if you want it from a male, and particularly your father, who is a man, now what happens? Now you start, you confused. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I'm not judging anybody. I'm not coming after anybody. I'm more so coming after the spirits that are attached to these different situations that are orchestrated, because there is no protecting anybody of the kids from these type of situations, because they're babes, literally, physically and spiritually. So now the enemy sees that as an opportunity. Yo, I'm gonna get in here. We ruining this. We gonna plant this seed of X, Y, and Z. Oh, it's gonna grow tall because just after this one situation, we got them. Does that make sense?
Man, that's real.
Yeah. I thank God for the level of protection that I've had mentally, spiritually since that encounter. Because who knows? I could have not been getting married to a woman at this current point. Now, you know, and I'm not saying that I'm keeping my other personal views to myself, but I just believe that there's a literally God ordained system for the way this stuff works. Now, watch this. Okay. God just keep telling me to go on this. Okay, so watch this. So now with, let's say, family priorities, and now if you are that seed of your family, along with these different I guess mistargeted voids and desires. So let's say that a woman wants her father in her life, all this type of stuff, to advise him, help her on a lot of different things, growing up with male encounters and all this other stuff. So now watch this. She becomes a single mother. Now the son is the seed of the family. He has possibly better decision-making skills, or just sees different things that God is opening his eyes up to. Now watch this. Now, because I am a man and you have rejection issues, although I'm your son, you're going to refute me. No matter how many blessings and X, Y, and Z you pray for, God is sending you help. Now, what you're doing is you're refuting, you're going against your help. So now what happens? Now that cycle continues, because now you're pacifying the young man, and now the cycle can continue through either the next female, because now she's seeing that example, or there has to be a quote unquote level of disrespect. However, I honor you for the vessel that you were, mom and dad. And I glorify, in this case, the single mother. I glorify her to, you know, maintaining her responsibility and everything. He doesn't get that glorification. But now I don't have to respect either one of you all's decision making, because respect is not in the Bible other than with a man and a woman for husband and wife. The Lord said the Lord didn't say nothing about respect. Respecting your parents.
You know what? I can't recall a verse in the Bible that talks about respect. So that you said a lot, man. You said a lot.
Sorry, man.
First of all, I appreciate your candidness, like being honest, because a lot of people don't want to go that deep. I really appreciate that. And the whole time, and I just started thinking about some experience. I'm looking at myself as you're talking. And it just made me feel like, what am I trying to say? Because I'm actually in the situation right now with my father, and I see a little bit of that going on. And this is early on, we were talking about grace, and I don't mean to take it back, but you said a lot now, and I want to address that too. But I'm just telling you my first thoughts when you began to speak about it was that grace factor, man. And it's crazy because I know what my father, I don't know exactly what my father been through growing up as a child. You know, I just learned that my grandfather was a pimp. He had hoes. He married one of his, you know what I'm saying, quote unquote, main ladies and whatnot. And that affected my father. Can he internalize that and say, okay, based off I have a broken leg and I don't even know it. You know what I'm saying? And again, he passed that on to me, like, because we talked about how you pay for your father's mistakes. But I'm saying that I know that my father had a tough time growing up, and he had some deficits emotionally, you know what I'm saying, that he wasn't able to show me because he didn't get what he needed. He wasn't full from what he needed from what his father should have gave him. So because I understand that, do I still give him that grace? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. You know, this situation that we're in now, I feel like I have. I feel like I'm trying to. But I got to stick to my boundaries, you know. I have to. And this is something that I'm learning now in relationships, not even between a man and a woman, but, man, there's still boundaries that you got to talk about there. Because, for example, somebody calling. I don't know. You got something on your mind. Maybe your gal, your lady, she don't want it. She don't want you calling at 12. But you didn't know that, so you do it anyway. So now she mad. Like, but if we talked about that, I wouldn't understand that. Come on. I'm sorry, I got animals. Losing my train of thought.
You talk about calling at 12, and she might not want
well, just those that boundaries thing. You know, my father and I didn't understand that he don't like text. You know what I'm saying? So he may text me something, and this is actually what happened. If I may share the situation that I'm in, he didn't come to my son's.
Not to cut you off. I don't like text either.
Oh,
I don't like text either.
I'm thinking it was a technological problem.
I really dislike texting, Jay.
You know what? Dearly noted. And I did call you. I could have texted you what I called, but I called you just as a side note.
That's why I asked it.
I appreciate that. So he didn't come to my son's 4th birthday party. He texted me that he wasn't coming. And so I texted him back and I told him how I felt about it. It wasn't disrespectful. It was, you know, I wish you could have been that pop, but I understand. If it was anybody I felt could deal with what was going on, it was you, but I understand. Well, whatever. Yeah. Never said nothing, never responded. Pretty much just turned his back on me. And talking to my uncle, yeah, your father, he don't really like text messages. He don't like that. You probably got to call him. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, man, I ain't calling him. Like, you text me like something like that. So I text you, and I ain't think what I text you was wrong. So I was wrestling with that. You know, I ended up calling him. Didn't pick up the phone. So he texted me back. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess you do respond to text. But long story short, man, I understand that my father has a hard time conveying his emotions. I understand that, you know, emotionally, he may be at a child's level. And I'm not saying that to throw shade, but again, like, if we having a situation where you didn't call or text me and now you mad, instead of coming to me and showing me how you feel, like that's a red flag. Something's going on, you know what I'm saying, whether they believe it or not. You know, that maturity is not there. So I understand that my father has those shortcomings, but yet I still angry. I'm still upset. He still ain't reached out to me. He not trying to be in his grandson's life. But that's where the grace come in, right? What you were talking about, where I understand
think about it, because what I'm realizing, and I'm sorry, I'm crying on air.
Come on with it.
Yeah, I'm thankful that I don't understand. I'm understanding why I've had to go through everything that I've had to go through, and how I've been built for just like this time. And all 3 of my texts, man, it's just crazy how all this is coming out. And I'm sorry. But what if God has charged you with,
I told you I love you.
what if God has charged you to be able to nurture your father to a degree because of the child that he sees in him, and he wants that to be raised up, and he's giving you a particular anointing and mantle over your life to be, what does this Bible say about kids? And this is the one thing that I've had to realize. Oh man. I've had to realize that for both of my parents, I am the blessing that they've prayed for. I'm the fulfillment of the prophecy that God said that he will provide for them, in the aspects of, on my mom's side of things. Hold on, Derek. I hear your vibration.
My phone. Yeah, that's my ring doorbell.
But, you know, to realize that I am the answer to my mother's prayers, in the areas of, I'm not even gonna say the areas, but let's just say one of the books are attributed to an answer to what she's prayed for. And then on the other end, I honestly believe in my hearts of hearts that my father has prayed to be healed from a lot of the trauma and stuff that he's faced and the unanswered questions that he didn't even get to rectify or resolve with his own father because his father passed away. So man, I can't take this, man. I don't even know if I can do any more of these interviews because I'm about to lose it. I don't know. I want to like shout, cry. And like,
is it therapeutic for you? Like, do you feel better after you know what I'm saying, have these conversations?
I feel like I've had them so many times for myself, but now to see other people, man, just really seeking out the help and being able to find it and getting answers to their questions, man. I couldn't ask for nothing else. And I told my fiance on our first date, I said, look, I don't believe in divorce. And the streak that God has me on, I said, it's one thing to be a leader for your not for your generation. It's one thing to be a leader for your family. It's one thing to be a leader for a community of people, but it's a whole other thing to be a leader for a whole generation. And just seeing the fruits of my labor and all of my work is not in vain, and my devotion time with God and just the dude, I tell you this little girl, the day that I started my business and I had my MatthewEaglin.com, I decided to go through a whole snowstorm January. Gee, this is crazy. That was January 27th of 2018, and I had the conversation with my father on January 27th of 2019. Oh my God. But I had...
See how when you look in hindsight?
Yeah.
But no, them aha moments. Yeah.
Man, so...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you good. So I decided to travel through a snowstorm, and I went to Staples. I get up there, it's this woman and her daughter, and her daughter's like 14. And I'm like, yeah, you know how y'all doing, X, Y, and Z. Me and the mother step away, we just talking. The daughter can't hear nothing I'm saying. And she's just, I used to get mad because I go to All Nations Worship Assembly under Dr. Matthew Stevenson. And I used to be like, God, why you not saying nothing to me through him? Like, why you not doing that? And he talking to everybody else. They ain't even members that come here. So I'm just sitting there and I'm like, God, at this point, I just want to hear from you. I prayed that silently. The little girl ain't know nothing. The mama didn't know nothing. Nobody knew that I prayed that prayer. So I go back to the counter. She comes up to me, put her hands on my head. She said, this is what God is telling you. 14 years old, bro. She said that you are God's beloved and you have such a special place in his eyes that a lot of people don't have. And I was like, bro, he's like, the way that you take time out for him and to just drop everything and seek him for answers, he loves that. Like, just to know that all of this is not, and I'm not saying that I believed it was in vain. I just didn't think that it would be coming to fruition until like I was in my 40s and 50s, like on my deathbed. Yeah. But just to see now at 24, man, and just days after I finished the book, I can't take it, man. It's overwhelming.
I feel that.
So, man, don't stop being a soft Negro. Let's jump.
Hey man, hey, you gotta put me more.
Stop saying that. You gotta stop saying
we
that.
We ain't trying to do what society say we're supposed to do, man. You better show that emotion, man. Get it out.
Oh yeah, man. I'm
ain't
good.
Nobody on here judging you.
Listen,
you still a man in my eyes.
Listen,
what's up? What you say?
You want me to start crying to it, make me feel better?
Nah, I said I'm gonna cut some worship music on after this because I feel like grateful isn't even a word now at this point,
man.
And it's such a good feeling to get to this point. But yeah, let's hit this R. Kelly before I choke.
Right back at it.
It's just the beginning, man. It's just the beginning for you.
Real.
Man.
What you have to say about R. Kelly, though?
Yeah, Jay, go ahead, man.
So I do believe, and I'm not one to to say it's everybody else's fault, but I mean, not to say that it's all R. Kelly's fault, but we would be fools if we would just come to that conclusion.
Right.
Exposing him, I heard like it was somebody in his family that was like raping him or molesting him or something like that. Yeah. And the fact that nobody says anything. I think I read this post on the book a minute ago where a guy and his lady, something happened where he did something foul to one of her family members, and she wanted to call the police, but his family told her not to, that they will handle this internally, you know, because it was definitely an offense that he should have probably went to prison for, but the fact that nobody wanted to hold him accountable, because again, it'll whomever the kid is grow up without a parent. I forget the whole story, but it's just it has that same mentality where you don't want to have that tough conversation. You don't want to address what you're doing wrong. You just sweep it under a rug and you just keep it going. When you pay for your father's mistakes, and it's almost like the family, you paying for your family's mistakes as well. I think that R. Kelly is a product of his environment. He was just doing what, you know, he learned. He thought learned behavior, and that's the trick of the enemy. Like if the enemy can convince you to, hey, that's not a sin. You can go ahead and that ain't no biggie. And I feel like that's what we are in this generation, man. The lines are so blurred. There's so much gray area. There is no yes or no. Trying to be there is no right or wrong. Correct. If I can blur those lines a little bit to how you're thinking, convincing yourself to go ahead, like the enemy don't even need to say nothing. You convincing yourself. I don't need that big boy. It's the battery dead. You convincing yourself to go ahead and commit this act, which you know without a doubt is wrong. You know, but that's what the enemy does, man. And I carry that same. Not that I don't carry that. What I mean is, I want to go against that. I want to show that there is a yes and there is a right and a wrong. And so when I'm talking with kids at the school and they always trying to blur the lines, and I don't give them room. You know, and I mean that's what we have to do. Right is right, wrong is wrong. There's no politically correct. There ain't no way around it. Come on, man. So if I bring that into my life with my son, it's how I do that. You know, he only 5 years old. And again, I talked about how sometimes I can be impatient. You know, my tone might be a little off. It's still in love. But from a 5-year-old's eyes, he's not 6, he's not 7, like he was saying. He's not 10. He can't articulate that. So I have to be more mindful of that, man. But I don't want to steer off the conversation about R. Kelly. But you know, I mean, that's kind of what I'm taking away, man. Again, like, bruh, what I want to say, I don't know, man. I just think about Joyce Meyer's book, man. See, Roots of Rejection, man. You'd be hard pressed to find any adult who is not struggling with a broken arm or a broken leg, who experienced that trauma at an early age, you know, and didn't go to the doctor. We know who the doctor is to break that arm and heal it the right way. There isn't. You'd be hard pressed to find a single adult who's not struggling with something. Though, bro, you just hit it. You got to re-break that joint and let it heal properly. You learn how to function with a broken arm. You know, if you don't go to the doctor, it'll heal on its own, but it's not gonna heal the right way. So you got to go to the doctor. You got to go to the Most High, and He got to break that, and He got to put it back in place, and then it'll heal. You know what I'm saying, over time. So that's huge.
And you probably hitting on like what we was talking about before, like the part of the re-breaking is going back into, you know what I'm saying, the past and the beginning of what started the trend, right? So when we talk about families and how we keep secrets and nobody says anything, you know what I'm saying, you got to go into the reason of why that is. Is there shame involved in it? You know what I'm saying? Are they afraid to talk about it? You know, like, and I think that's part of the problem is it's a tough a lot of these are tough conversations to have. This is not comfortable. You know what I'm saying? To approach these situations. So I think that's a part of the. You know what I'm saying? You got to re-break the joint.
When did Black folks start becoming comfortable? Unfortunately, we were forced to live in shacks.
Yeah,
we were forced
that's a good question.
We were forced to eat a lot, forced to give up our kids and forced to do a lot of things, forced to be killed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude,
I think if I may address that, it was the desire not to let it go, I'm tired of going through that. So if I have it, I don't care how ugly it is. I don't care if he don't treat me right. I don't care if, he ain't got no money or she ain't got no money or I'm gonna hold on to it no matter what.
Yep.
And that's the detriment,
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you holding on to a man or woman who is abusing your kids? Why are you holding on to a guy who, constantly cheats on you? It's that desire, like, I'm not letting that go because I know without that person or without that individual, if I'm not going through that situation, I'm gonna be on my own. I don't want that,
And can that, be tied back to a slave mentality as well, to where, back in history when the slaves were freed, it was like, okay, what are we supposed to do now? They didn't have the education to go out, and start on businesses and things of that nature. So it's like, I'm going back to the plantation because that's what I know.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's what we call two-dimensional, right? So I believe that there was another side of the story that a lot of people are not paying attention to. So I was reading an article that they had quoted Frederick Douglass, and I grew up thinking that just as we talk about the transition of holding pain and transferring that throughout the generations, I believe that there's a gray area in that respect of miseducation. And what I mean by that is that this article, I believe it was from NPR, National Public Radio, they quoted Frederick Douglass on the fact that just as it relates to eating habits, the slaves did not want to eat mush. There were certain slaves who risked their lives to reach into the master's garden to get the fresh fruits and vegetables, and even to risk their lives to go off the plantation and go fish for fresh fish. So why are we still hooked on hot flamings, pork, chitlins, all of the bad things that might end up giving us health problems, cancer, diabetes, high cholesterol, I said high blood pressure. Let's figure that out. So, and now we don't even believe in proper vitamin supplementation, and that's more so herbs and stuff. And I ain't talking about that herb that you smoke. But that is more so the route that I believe that the mothership kind of enforced back in the day. Community, relying on each other, growing our own food, making our own stuff that is healthy for us according to the type of life that we want to live, to be healthy, to be lean, to be agile, and to not be susceptible to all of these different diseases because, a lot of people, she has cancer. Okay, what was her diet like for most of her life? Jason,
go. Ooh. And when you were talking about that, I thought about Black folks' relationships with Jason. I'm sorry, I'm doing something. Give me a second, big boy. You gotta ask Jamaica or Brian, please. Our relationship with the government, our relationship with doctors, our relationship, and I'm talking about after slavery, henceforth, right? The syphilis, you know what I'm saying? The experiment, the Tuskegee experiment.
Yep.
Like, we don't have trust in doctors. That's why men don't go to the doctor. I don't even think I've seen my father go to a doctor's office, or what was the other point? It's just the fact that I'm going to the doctor to figure out what's wrong with me, and I need something. I need some help to get me to get healthiher. So he's gonna prescribe you with something that's gonna heal one thing but destroy another part of your body.
Yeah.
So that's
a whole nother conversation that I can put you on game on. But
that's what I was thinking about when you talking about, like, where did it come from? How did it
Make us comfortable.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, think about it. Which I would say about the slaves. They didn't know what to do. Look at Black Wall Street. That's completely opposite.
But
that's what I'm
guess
saying.
Who came in and destroyed it though? And it's like
we ain't gonna get it in all that. Man. I need to at least live.
So my goal here is not to like point the finger at somebody, but it's to say that we've tried, right? And if it's that mentality where if I build something and somebody else just come and crumble it, why am I going to keep trying to build it again, right? You know, that we may be dealing with that internally, but we don't understand it. We don't know that, you know.
Yeah. With parenting issues, can't nobody make that choice to tear you down other than you.
Yep. It starts because I'm fine. I go to the doctor. If I need help, I'm gonna go to the doctor. He may say this is what you need. I'll do my own research, and if I feel like what he's presenting to me may work, then I'll try that. So it really begins with the self. We can't just. It's hard, man. You don't understand the influence your family has over you once you really in it almost, man. I'm trying to think of a better way to say that, but you just really don't know that the hold that it has on you, the influences, the outside things.
Yep.
I'm thinking about kids all day. You talk about flaming hots, man. I bring fruit to school to get like, man, put that chip, man. Here's an apple, you know what I'm saying? And they won't take the apple. They won't take it.
Yeah.
They won't. But again, you can lead a horse. You can lead them right to it. So, yeah, man. I don't mean to sidetrack.
Nah, you good. But yeah, if y'all got anything else, man, we go ahead and wrap it up.
For sure, man. For sure.
This is the first of many.
For sure, man. We gotta do this again, yo. So much to talk about, man. So much to touch on. I mean, I think we got deep in this conversation, man.
Oh yeah.
You know, but I think it's still surface level stuff. You know what I'm saying? We can get much deeper, man. Much deeper. And I think a lot of people need to hear it. You know what I'm saying? To give them sort of an idea. Okay, how do I heal from what I've been through and what I'm going through? And it all starts with this conversation.
I'm broken.